Okay, and we're live. So today we've got a great guest. It's Andy Herrington from Powerhouse Dialing. So Andy, why don't you take a quick second and tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here on the Niche Agent?
Sure, absolutely. My name's Andy Herrington, as you said. I'm the founder of Powerhouse Coaching, as well as the author of the book Powerhouse Dialing. My history is I spent 6 years, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week on the phone as a phone specialist for three of the biggest teams in the Toronto region. I've just parlayed that into a coaching career where I help real estate agents build and grow their businesses to live the lives that they foresee for themselves.
Great. So before real estate, what were you doing then?
Before real estate, that's an interesting question. I worked for my family business for a little while, which is in private investigation. And prior to that, I have my degree in theater arts, and I worked for a couple of years in the theater industry behind the scenes, but building sets and doing lights and sounds and things like that.
Okay, so it's a good mix of different skills you got. So
Absolutely.
for you, why phone calling, and how did you become the phone specialist, and what drew you to that?
Yeah, you know what? For myself, I know that even as a kid growing up, I loved the phone. I spent a ton of time on the phone with my friends as a kid, and so that was for me the most comfortable place to be. And when I got into real estate, I did sell on my own for a little while, and I found that I was good at dialing the phone. I had no problem sitting in an office and making those dials, which is certainly not the easiest skill out there, but I could do that part. But I found it kind of frustrating when I would meet with people. I didn't enjoy that aspect, which is, frankly, what I think a lot of real estate agents absolutely love. My skill, and it was very marketable. Take it out there and make some money doing that. So I went off to that side of it and got into the phones and found that was, absolutely my niche. It was something that I was able to really take and run with. Over the last 6 years that I was an active sales rep, I figure I dialed the phone just shy of half a million times. Really talking to everybody, learning a ton of different scripts, knowing the ways to convert people, and learning the differences between everybody. So I've then taken that knowledge and really built a company around the ability of how to create leads and how to obviously convert them into face-to-face appointments.
Perfect. So needless to say, you're comfortable on the phone and good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm comfortable, converting people into the face-to-face appointments, making sure that, no matter how they came to me, I can make them want to meet with me.
Perfect. So how many agents would you say are actually doing cold calling well? Because obviously agents who are new, even in seasoned vet agents I know aren't always the greatest on the phone. How many would you say, or percentage-wise, are pretty good on the phone?
Cold calling is exceedingly rare to find somebody that's a real good cold caller. It's a very difficult portion of the business. I think for everybody out there when they first get into real estate, somebody along the lines just says, well, hey, there's a phone book and there's a phone. Let's marry those two together. And for most people, it's just some people will see success for a small period of time, but if there's more than one or two people in any given office that is a strong, consistent cold caller and really makes a strong living from it, I'd be surprised. Outside of those core people, then there's a bunch of people that just now and then they'll jump into cold calling. They'll do it here and there, but cold calling is, it's the worst quality lead that you can find. It's the lowest part. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be prepared for the follow-up side of the business. And then moving along that process, you go from cold calling at one end being the worst leads that you can get to your repeat and referral leads on the other end of the spectrum. And no matter where your leads fall inside of that, being able to convert them on the phone to that face-to-face appointment is the biggest key. I think everybody's tried cold calling, but very, very few are successful at it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of older school agents, they say pick up the phone book, and agents just they try it, they give up, and it tends to. I've seen a lot of people's careers just go down the tubes because of that, and they think that's the only way to do it. So for you,
it really, yeah, absolutely. They get stuck, right?
Yeah.
You know, they saw this other person who's been doing it for years and years and years, and they look at their success and they think, if I jump on the phone today, then I can have that exact same success. It takes a long time, no matter what you're doing, in order to find the success.
Okay. Now, for you, you're obviously weren't doing the cold calling then, or were you more calling leads, calling in? Were you calling out to leads, or what was your situation like for most of your calls?
Yeah, so a bit of everything for sure. I did cold calling for a couple of teams, but my mainstay was either internet leads or ad sign calls, just generated leads, whether they be branded internet or unbranded internet leads. Just getting names and phone numbers of people who are interested in real estate, and then building that relationship, building that rapport, and over time getting them to meet face-to-face with the real estate agents.
Perfect. Yeah, so I want to quickly pause here for a sec, because we have a special contest at the end. We're going to talk about it more at the end of it. You're going to be giving away your book, The Powerhouse Dialing, to one of our listeners. So I just want to mention that. So make sure you listen to the episode, and at the end we're going to have a little bit of a giveaway. So make sure you stay tuned. So for yourself, do you want to talk a bit about the book quickly, so you can give some insight to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So for my book, I've got the book Powerhouse Dialing, and that's kind of it's a how-to guide, right? Like it's how to dial the phone more. It's how to get more out of the leads. It's how to schedule yourself. How to learn a script. How to build a script. All of those things so that you can become what I refer to as a phone specialist, somebody that can truly, whether you want to do what I did and work on a team, and just convert leads and have somebody else do the rest of the work, or more often than not, just make it so that you yourself have a whole lot more appointments. And basically, what I'm looking to accomplish is whatever money you're spending right now on marketing, this book should help you make more money from that.
Yep.
So you shouldn't have to spend more money on marketing. You shouldn't have to be spending right now. This book will make you better at it.
Perfect. So,
and then outside of that, I also have a companion book to it, which is my Powerhouse Dialing script book.
Okay.
And I'm going to give away the whole package. So you'll get the how-to guide, the Powerhouse Dialing, as well as a copy of the script book in the giveaway to one lucky listener.
Awesome. And we're going to be giving away your top 20 phone tips script to everybody, or your list for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah. I've got it's a free report for everybody. It's the top 20 tips that will help you, convert more leads for
Great.
sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll do that at the end. So a lot of people think that there's people who are naturally born phone people that are just, they've got it or they don't. Do you believe that? Is it something that you think is important, or?
I don't believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that there are people that are definitely more naturally suited to the position, but anybody can learn it. It's the skill set is absolutely learnable. Having a script in place, and I think that, frankly, is the spot where everybody gets hung up. They really want to make this script their own, and they want to change words and things like that. And having built scripts for a number of different teams and my own company now, I know just the amount of psychology and understanding of human nature that goes into creating the words and picking the words and putting them in the right order and putting the questions in the right order. That sadly what ends up happening is when you start to play around with the scripts, no matter whose scripts you're playing around with, what you're doing is you're messing with the internal workings of that script, right? It would be like taking a radio and just reaching in, throwing a few wires in new places and just wondering why it doesn't work. And that's something that I see. I think for most people, it's not a matter of not being able to do it. It's not a matter of not being born to do it. It's a matter of kind of wiping away the ability to go, what, just I have to make this my own, and just kind of going, what, I'm gonna take this system, I'm gonna build it, I'm gonna grow it, I'm gonna learn it, and then once I know it inside and out, that's where the you-ness comes out of a script, right? Knowing the words, it doesn't matter who wrote the words that you say. All that matters is, do you believe in what they're saying?
Yep.
And that's the spot where I see most people fail, and fall down. Is they just don't believe, either they don't believe in what they're saying, or they just start to change the words up and, as I say, just completely obliterate the messages, because frankly, when writing a script, it's not the words that you would normally think are important that are the really important words, and it can really cause havoc.
Okay. So for you, where did you learn these? Like, do you have any mentors? Do you have people that you follow? Is there certain people that you've learned from that you've really mastered it that help you grow in your business? Yeah,
you know what? I had some real great teachers. I've taken coaching through the years. From Mike Ferry, Zig Ziglar, a bunch of different people, coaching wise, and really learning from them. People that have done it. Probably one of the people that I learned a huge amount from was the teams that I was a part of. I was a part of Tom and Diane Mitchell's team for a brief period. I was a part of Craig Proctor's team, and then Dan Plowman's team. And when I was with Craig Proctor's team, when I came in there, his number one phone specialist was a woman by the name of Carol Teal, and she was phenomenal. And the amount of time that I was able to sit and pick her brain, and whenever there was downtime and I had the ability to, I would go and sit in her office, and I learned a great deal from somebody who, at that time, I think she had been doing that, just really kind of modeling after that. I then add to that, my history, being a theater major. One of the things that we're looking at is, how human beings react and communicate with people. So that was a huge deal for me. And then, as a private investigator, from watching people, and that was what I did all day,
Yep.
and kind of learning, just how people work, how their mind works, how things along those lines happen. And the last piece of the puzzle for me, I became a certified DISC personality trainer. About 7-8 years ago now, something like that, and just really being able to peg what part of somebody's personality are they using at this moment when I'm talking to them,
right,
so that I would be able to communicate so much better with them.
Okay. Now I want to go deeper into when you actually have a lead, because that's a lot of people don't know what to say, how to do it. For you, let's start with what is a lead for you, because I know there's different people who say a lead is someone who's buying in a week. Someone could be, or some people say it's someone who's going to buy. So what's your definition of a lead?
Yeah, my definition of a lead is fairly simple, but I think for a lot of people it's still even hard. Mine's a name and a phone number. Somebody that I've got a name and a phone number for somebody. That's a lead. Sometimes those are going to be good. Sometimes those are going to be bad. And overall, one of my overall kind of guiding principles is that the leads are good, no matter what source of your leads are. As I say, I've watched people make hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the phone book,
right,
year after year after year. And, if they can do that, leads are good.
Yep.
And I find that that's probably the biggest problem for most people is, for your own personal business, you're absolutely right. You need to define what is the quality of lead that I'm willing to deal with.
Yeah, and that's
where do I draw that line?
Dean Jackson, I don't know if you know him. He's a real estate marketing guy, and he says treat every lead as a 5-star prospect until they prove they're not.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that.
You know what?
They get a bad name, or get a bad email, or even just a name they think is not a good name, or it may not be English, and they assume it's not good and they don't call it, or they give up on it. And it's amazing how many people throw away potentially good money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they don't even know if it's a good lead or not.
Absolutely. You know what? When I go through and at different events and when I'm in offices and talking to people, I go through kind of what I expected out of my sales staff when I was running an inside sales department. What did I expect from contacting a lead, right? So the majority of my time was dealing with internet leads, which is basically an unbranded internet leads at that,
yep,
which is really just a step above cold calling, and it's a giant step, but it's. Oh, and what do I expect to do that? What is calling a lead? What is, so the definition of what a lead is to me is a name and a phone number. The definition of calling a lead. So if somebody, if you've got a lead in your business, and your job is to call it, that means actually to physically speak to them. And what is it going to take to do that? For lots of people, you've got to come up with what is your own acceptable standard for that? I can gladly and will right now give you the standard that I had for my inside sales staff. My inside sales staff, when I gave them a lead, their job was to get a hold of it. In order to get a hold of it, their system, my standard of what they were to do was to dial that lead 3 times a day for the first 7 days. The next 7 days, they were going to dial it once a day. Then they were going to not dial it for 14 days. And then they were going to dial it once a day for the next 14 days.
Wow.
And if at that point they still haven't got a hold of it, then you can give up on it if you want.
Wow. That's
right, but that's...
You can say at the end of it, you know that isn't a good lead or it is a good lead because you've put the time.
Well, at the end of the day, we know whether or not we could get a hold of them.
Yep.
Really is all you know, right? Yep. We know that probably they weren't buying in the next, week
yep.
or so.
Yep.
So if that's our definition of, what's a quality, appointment or client. But yeah, it's what we knew was that we were working our hardest. We were putting every effort into that. Now that's, again, and I'll say it with the disclaimer, that was an inside sales department. That meant
right.
all my people were doing was dialing the phone all day.
Right.
They spent 6 hours a day on the phone, and that's it.
Yep.
No active agent could do what we were doing.
Right.
Not possible.
Yeah.
Right? So I say that for 2 reasons. 1, so people understand that that's not what I would expect out of anybody that was an active agent.
Yep.
And 2, so that they don't try and hold themselves accountable to it either.
Right. So during that, obviously that's a lot of calls you've made during those different times. Which time is the best time of day to get a hold of someone?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the absolute best time of day to get a hold of people is between 6 and 9 p.m. during the weekdays.
Right.
And inside of that, the very best single hour of dialing is 8 to 9 p.m.
Wow.
I would also say that is the lowest dialed hour of any hour as well.
So there's less competition.
Well, there's less competition. I think a lot of people, we get tired by the end of the day, right? You're just kind of like, ugh, but I can, literally couldn't count on my fingers and toes anymore how many times I spent 6 hours a day at work and had basically 0 appointments from kind of, when I started till 8 o'clock and ended up with 3 to 5 appointments from 8 to 9 p.m. From just that extra hour of dialing and just going, you know what, I'm going to push through it. Because it really is. It's the time people are done dinner. People are sitting and relaxing.
Yep.
And when people are sitting and relaxing, they are much more willing to talk about these, topics that are, kind of, not top of mind topics necessarily. Moving right this second may not be my top of mind topic.
Right.
Right? But it's one that I know that's going to happen in the next month or 2 or the next 6 months. I'm more than willing to talk about it. Just not if I'm being bothered. You call me during dinner, I'm being bothered, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely it. 6 to 9 p.m., obviously people aren't at work, so I'm going to get a hold of more people. Outside of that, any and all hours on the weekend would qualify as the same, 6 to 9 p.m. type calling.
Okay.
And then during the day, for me it was 9 till 11 a.m. was a good time to call. And then kind of 1 till... and then kind of, after 5 o'clock, really, you're going to start getting a hold of people again. But the worst hours of dialing and consistently office to office when I go and talk to people, it is, again, the most dialed time by realtors everywhere is kind of 2 to 4 p.m. And that is absolutely the worst time you could pick up the phone and start dialing. It honestly, it almost makes no sense to me, and I'll explain exactly why. 2 to 4 p.m. is the reason why realtors are doing it the most is the same as the rest of the planet. They are the most productive work hours of the day, 2 to 4 p.m. And really what it is people have spent all of the day up until 2 o'clock doing nothing productive whatsoever, and they realize if they get nothing done by the end of the day, their boss is going to get mad at them. So they're hard at work during that time. So even if you happen to have work numbers, they don't want to talk to you, right? They're not interested right this second. So, but that's and it's the same for us. We feel like we've done nothing all day. We might as well start doing something. So we jump on the phone and we start dialing, and the the results aren't very good, and then we blame the cold calling, or we blame the leads, or we blame everything else instead of realizing, you know what, I'm calling at the worst time.
Yeah, and that's plays such a key role, but people may overlook it and not even realize that could
Absolutely.
be making it or breaking it.
Yeah,
So
you know what? I always talk about, doing the right thing is really, really important, but doing the right thing at the wrong time is just as bad as doing the wrong thing.
right.
You got to do the right thing, but at the right time.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are afraid of being on the phone. What's your best tip for people getting over that call reluctance?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it's having that game plan. What people are really afraid of is sounding stupid. Not knowing exactly what to say, and that's about having really a game plan, a scripted approach. There's a lot of scripts out there. I obviously have some. Mike Ferry had some. Richard Robbins has some. Name anybody that you can find scripts. That's not hard to do.
Yep.
I'm not even a guy that believes that you desperately need my script book by any stretch of the imagination. Whatever you use is going to work. But have a script, have a plan, and then memorize it. Don't just kind of, as I say, don't just kind of guess it, and don't try and go, well, I'm kind of close or what have you. Memorize it, and specifically memorize the objection handles.
Okay. Now,
Yep.
a lot of agents will start giving up. They maybe memorize the script. They're getting going, and then they kind of lose that momentum and traction. How do you keep people going, and how do you keep them motivated to keep making those calls?
Yeah, you know what? For a lot of it, it is, I believe that tracking is dramatically important. Tracking and knowing what you're actually accomplishing. And as well as, and I track, simplified tracking of four things. I call it tracking your taco. And it's, the talk tos, the appointments, the contracts, and the offers. If I know those four stats, then I can kind of know what's going on in my business. And if if you're keeping track of your taco, you can see whether or not you're improving. You can see, the results. Plus, especially getting started with anything is, it's a level of commitment, but a level of understanding of what the commitment is to. I find far too many people in real estate, because there's so many options for them, right? There's so many different ways to make a living, and they all work, right?
Yep.
There's so many different choices that they kind of go, well, I'll try this one, and then they try it for a couple of months, and then that doesn't work, and then they'll try something new for a couple of months, and that doesn't work, and then know how it works in real estate. And for me, real estate happens in 3-month cycles. The first 3 months of anything you do will turn in almost $0
Yep.
into your bank account, right? Probably even almost zero future dollars into your bank account from that first 3 months. It's about setting it up. It's about organizing. It's about learning how to do it. It's about growing. The next 3 months, you're going to start to, maybe bank a couple of dollars, but really start to bank future dollars. And then the next 3 months after that is when, you can start to kind of go, oh, so this is what I can expect kind of on a semi-regular basis. And every 3 months you'll get better and better, and at some point you'll kind of reach that plateau. And you'll be able to know, if I do this, whatever this is, repeatedly, I will earn X, Y, Z. And you know what? Numbers are great. They don't lie to you, right?
Yeah.
If I do this, if I call 100 people, I will book 5 appointments. Whatever it is that your numbers are, you'll know what they are. And that's
speaking of numbers, then.
Power.
Speaking of numbers, what is a good number for people to reach? So if they're calling X amount of leads, how many should they be getting? Just kind of give people a ballpark, even a range, just because a lot of people don't know when they're getting started. They're starting making those calls and they get upset.
You know what? And it's a big part of my book, as I do really go through kind of the quality of leads and to give kind of an understanding. So conversion percentage for cold calling, this is conversion to an appointment. Over a 1-year time frame, right? So calling the same numbers over a year, that sort of idea. So on cold calling, you should expect about a 1% return, 1% conversion percentage from cold calling. Farming is going to be a 2 to 3% conversion. Unbranded internet leads running around the 15% range. Unbranded print leads running around 20%. Branded internet leads, so that, where they're associated with your name and what have you, is around a 30%. Branded internet, 30% is for with your company, and about 38 to 40% if it's directly you, from branded internet leads. Branded print leads, somewhere around the 57 to 60% range is what you should expect for conversion percentage. And then we get into referral leads where it jumps up dramatically, 75% from a business referral, 90+% from a client referral. And then the statistics that I found were talking about repeat leads at about a 97% range, which
Wow.
I always kind of joke and say, well, I don't know what happened with the other 3%, because, if you're getting a repeat business, you should be able to convert that, one would think. But, every now and then, I guess maybe there's somebody you don't want to convert. So
That's true. Very true. So in your book, you mentioned you should never ask, how are you, when you start off a conversation. Why is that?
It's the greatest way to piss off people, in my opinion. Like, put yourself the next time your phone rings at home, and it's a telemarketer on the other end of the line, and they say that, just think about it, right? The next 4 million people you talk to, the next 4 million people, they're fine, right? So I don't need to ask how they are, right? They're fine, or, so honestly, my answer now when I'm at home and somebody calls up and they ask me how I am and I don't know who they are, my answer to them is, what do you want? Right? I'm not even going to tell them I'm fine. I'm not going to do anything like that, right? The only thing that could possibly be different, right? So you're going to get somebody, what do you want? Fine. And the other answer is going to be some long diatribe from the little old lady who wants to tell you everything about her corns and her bunions. And I don't want that either. So it really does nothing to build rapport. It's this misbelief. It's that it's polite to do this. It really isn't. Right? When you call somebody, they have 2 questions on their mind. Who are you and why are you calling?
Yep.
And if you're not answering those immediately, then they are mad at you. Right? And the more mad they are at you, the harder it is to book an appointment at the end of the day. So just get to the point.
Okay, that's good to know. So I'm not going to go into the whole psychology of the script and all that kind of stuff. You talk about that in the book, so people can check that out. But I want to go into talking about the hiring an inside salesperson versus doing it yourself, because a lot of agents don't know if that's a good thing to do or if it has to be them. A lot of agents think the branded agents who it's all about them think, oh, it has to be me calling, it has to be me, it needs to be my name or my voice. Do you find a difference in that when agents have an inside salesperson or having themselves do it?
No, there's no difference that way. Having an inside salesperson or an inside sales team is an exceedingly high cost part of real estate. It's not a cheap thing to put together. So, there's high costs in terms of just the people and the leads, right? Because, it takes a whole lot more leads to keep them busy.
Yep.
I conservatively had 300 plus leads on my day timer at all times.
Wow.
Right? So I was getting new stuff, and I was, obviously booking appointments and pushing people off, and, but I had to have, a whole lot of people to call all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So, that there's a cost attached to that. There's a cost, obviously, to an inside salesperson, as a general rule, is a commission plus salary position.
Right.
So you're going to have, hard cost as well as some commission. In regard to the thought process of, well, it needs to be me, I've been on far too many teams, and, I have frankly coached far too many teams to know that the public doesn't give a care about any of us.
Right.
They care about results. They care about, success. That's about it. They don't care about people. So it's not about any individual person, ever. I spent many years on the phone as either Craig or Dan, not because that was what I wanted to be, but that was the name that they recalled from advertising.
Right.
I would start with my name. They would remember Craig or Dan, and that's what they would call me.
Yep.
Who cares? Life goes on.
Yep.
Both Craig Proctor and Dan Plowman both were running teams that were doing in excess of 400 plus transactions a year, and both of them were never going out on an appointment ever.
Yeah.
So, you know what? They farmed out who called because I was doing that. They farmed out who went on the appointment because somebody else was doing that. Their job was to run the company.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you know what? That they were running very successful companies. And that's, you know, it doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be, you know, somebody else. But what it does have to be is something where you understand what's going to be involved in putting the person into place.
Right.
You know, a inside sales agent doing their job with the number of leads that they should have and everything else can keep anywhere between 3 and 5 active agents busy.
Wow.
That's one. Active agents are going to have their own little business as well as, you know, added on from the inside sale.
Yep.
So you need to be at a certain size for it to really be worthwhile.
Right.
Otherwise, you know, it's a bottleneck. It's hard to make money as an inside sales agent. You know, it's hard to make money as an outside sales agent, and all the different problems that can kind of come of it, and they just get frustrated with each other, and you know, it's a tough gig, but you know, in the right scenario and done in the proper way, very, very successful.
Okay. Now, quickly, what would you say is your view on a part-time person? I know some teams will get kind of busy, they can't keep up with it, and they'll hire an agent who maybe does a bit of business on the side, and they'll say, hey, can you make these calls for me? Is that good, bad? What do you think?
It can be very good, as long as the person, you know, can do a good job of it, right? You know, that there's a commission portion attached to it, right? So that there's some incentive to do the job.
Yep.
You know, the job is a thankless one at the end of the day. You know, it's a pretty tough one. You're getting told where to go on a regular basis, and you know, and told no a lot. But you know, as long as the hours that the person are working make sense, right? So it's a lot of evenings and weekends.
Yep.
And you know, that there's accountability and, you know, financial gain for them. Yeah, you could do absolutely have a part-time phone salesperson working for you.
Perfect. Okay. Now, if you were a new agent and you were brand new to the business, had no experience in real estate, no real center of influence or anything like that, what would you say would be your best way to get business?
For me, I think right now some of the best tools, Craigslist and Kijiji advertising, to generate some leads, either pushing them to an internet site where they can fill in a form to get information, so that I can get names and phone numbers and then dial the phone, you know, and talk to these people and get in front of them. Those to me are low cost, you know, things for somebody new in the business. I kind of look at myself when I got into the business. I didn't have money to spend, you know, on marketing and building a fancy website or any of those things.
Yep.
So, you know, I would be looking at doing that. I'd be running Craigslist, Kijiji ads really daily, doing that, getting that organized just to try and get names and phone numbers as best I can.
That's actually how I started. I started on a team, and we used the Craig Proctor system, and we started running Kijiji ads and Craigslist ads and stuff, and I just dove right into it. And I was on my own. After I left the team, I was getting about 150 leads a month, and it's crazy how much you can do with it if you do it right. And agents just miss the ball on it, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay,
they really do. They, you know, and you got to try different things on it, right? You got to, you know, like you know, if this didn't work, you know, like there is nothing, as I kind of said, there's a million ways to make money in real estate, and all of them work. So if it's not working, it's not its fault, right? It's your fault. Look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
You know, when, you know, I talk to far too many people that tell me internet leads are crap. You know, it's probably going to be the name of my next book, is that internet leads are crap. And, you know, 175 deals a year were coming out of my inside sales department, right? From internet leads only. Like, I was the only source we had was unbranded internet leads. So, you know what? I know that they're not crap, but it's a matter of knowing how to handle them and knowing the approach.
Yep. And it's amazing, and it's such a steady stream because you know, and that becomes consistent. And when you know, when you run this many ads, you get this many leads, and when you get this many leads, you can get this many deals from it. Whereas if you just do print advertising, those kind of things, it's very unpredictable, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? There's what I like to refer to it as faith-based real estate, where I just know deals are going to come from somewhere. They're just going to happen.
Yep.
And then there's, actually a systematic approach to real estate and going, you know what? If I just follow this plan, it will work, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And honestly, I don't even care what your this plan is, because they all work. You just have to follow it.
That's why I created the Niche Agent. It's to show people. Listen, there's 101 different ways to do real estate. You can do them well, and there's a lot of agents out there doing it and doing it well. I just launched an episode today, actually, of people that do missile base homes. So they take old missile bases and convert them into homes. And I'm like, if you can't find a more niche business than that, and they're making money and they're doing well at it. So there's 101 ways to do it, or a million ways to do it. It's just doing it and doing it well.
Yeah, you know what? It's about focusing. It's about going, you know what, like, you can go out and you can become a sniper, right?
Yep.
And, go a mile away from your target, shoot, be done with your day and go on with life. Or you can go a mile away from your target and shoot a shotgun. And you know what? I can tell you which one's going to be more successful sniper.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you use the right tool, you focus, you plan it out, you know what's going on, and then, you know what? The sniper on his first day is not going to hit his target, right? It's, becoming good at it, becoming an expert at it, working at it for a period of time and really taking that commitment and going, okay, what do I expect? When do I expect it by? Because, you know what? It's funny because I've talked to a couple of people even just recently that are cold callers. They've made a good living cold calling, and they tell me they can't make any money from internet leads. And I'm like, the only difference is that the internet leads have raised their hand and said they're interested in real estate. Like, that doesn't even, literally, it makes no sense. And it's like, well, I tried it for 2 months and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, nothing does.
Yeah.
Nothing works in 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, it's a tough lesson in real estate, and I think a lot of agents have a tough time learning that is, you know what, nothing works in less than 3 months. Nothing.
Yep. They give up before they even see the results from it.
Absolutely. On Facebook, I've seen it a bunch of times where the one guy's mining through the mine and one guy's leaving and he's given up.
Yes.
And he's, got just one chip and all the diamonds are right behind it, and the other guy's just got his head down and is going, right? Yeah. One guy's going to get there, one guy's not. And when did you give up? And, did you give up at the right time?
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you give us your biggest takeaway or golden nugget for the listeners if they're thinking about getting good on the phone, other than getting your book, because that's obviously a good advice. But what else would you give our listeners?
Yeah, so for anybody that wants it, you can go to my website, which is powerhousecoaching.ca /niche. And in there, you can register to get an email from me, which is the top 20 tips that I learned over the $500,000 that I was making to get a hold of more people, to be, you kind of asked about it, be more motivated to get on the phone, to become more comfortable, and obviously book more face-to-face appointments, and obviously at the end of that earn more money. So I've got my 20 best tips for free for every single person that wants it.
Okay. Can you share one of those with the listeners?
For me, you know what? One of the ones that I always kind of jump to is star 67. I blocked every dial that I ever dialed. You know what? I know that there are people out there that don't like blocked calls, and they may or may not answer it. But I can tell you, if they got 20 blocked dials in the last 2 weeks, they're going to pick it up at some point and go, "Who the heck is this?"
Yeah. Which
is really all I want. But yeah, you know what? That's a big one. Is that I blocked every dial that I ever made. And I knew after a while, then I would try different ways. But that was always the first way I attempted, was block dial, star 67.
Okay. So what we're going to do then is, we're going to have that book giveaway. So if you go to the website, sign up for that. We'll get you, one winner is going to win the book. You're all going to get the top 20 phone tips. And I'm going to throw in the ebook of mine, the 101 niche real estate niche markets. So if you haven't gotten that, we'll give you guys that as well. So you also do some seminars and things like that. So do you have anything coming up for people?
You know what? Right now, I don't have anything booked. I'm in the process of looking at a couple of different things, but on my website, it will definitely have when my next events are coming up. I run a free half-day event called Jolt on a fairly regular basis. Right now, I'm looking at kind of the London area, Ottawa, and possibly Barrie. So those are the ones that are currently in kind of mix, but I'll be all around Ontario for the rest of this year for sure, kind of doing that event, and it is free to attend. And at that, I kind of talk about how to create more leads, how to convert more leads, and how to get paid more money for what we do per transaction. So it's a power-packed event, and they can go to powerhousecoaching.ca to find out when.
Okay, great. Now, we have some listeners that obviously are not in Canada or in Ontario. Is there any other resources for them that they can check out from you if they're interested?
Yeah, right now, not necessarily. Hear from them because I'm always looking at new areas to go to speak with realtors. I've been kind of all over kind of North America over time. I've spoken in Florida. I've spoken in every province, almost every province in Canada. This is a new venture for me. I was with a different coaching company before, so I'm just getting going on this coaching company for the last about 2 years now. Okay. So glad to hear from them. I've got my 2 books available. I'm working on another one right now, but I also do live events, seminars for learning the dialing and the scripting and things along those lines. I've got a social media event as well, and I can do that kind of anywhere.
Okay, perfect. So, Andy, we really appreciate you being on the show. It's very insightful and very rewarding to know that you can be good at it and you don't have to be alone, because a lot of people are afraid and they don't know what to do. So there are resources out there. So thank you for sharing your tips and inside information. And if they are interested, they can check out the book and get a hold of you on your website as well.
Absolutely, and the last thing, obviously, I run a coaching company, so I do have coaching available for people. It is a customized one-on-one coaching, and I run those either weekly or every other week as options for people. And it's very strongly priced to try and help people all across North America make more money.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thanks
you
for being on the show.